One of the things I really enjoyed about reading danah Boyd's book, It's Complicated, The Social Lives of Network Teens, was, I think it's hard for me to not see social media as the devil and our kids as people who are in league with the devil without knowing it. So, at best, I feel bad for them and roll my eyes, and at worst, I think like, oh no, they're dying of a serious death because of their engagement with technology. And it's clearly not just the undisciplined kids or just the rebellious kids, but it just seems to be kids who are doing this. So one of the things I loved about the book is she was trying to say there's a logic to teenagers' social networking. And it's not just I'm lazy, it's not just I'm an addict, whether or not those things are true. And it's not even just I'm doing what all the cool kids do. One of her main theses seems to be that something's happened in the world where if you restrict it to American society, maybe 50 years ago, what our kids do with their day after school is they go out and they play. They're public places, they're in parks. I mean, we used to be at the elementary school behind my house. But there's lots of places for them to play that are relatively safe. And they're places where they can talk without any supervision, so they don't have their parents going, looking over their shoulder. And she's saying, really what's going on with social networking is kids are looking for publics, places to hang out together, and particularly maybe places where they're not surveilled or, their parents aren't looking. So, if you're hanging out back in the day and your mom comes up, you're like, oh, you do this thing. And so even something like Snapchat, she says that's what's going on with Snapchat. It's not that kids want to do really inappropriate things and that's why they like the fact that it disappears. It's just that they want to talk with their friends without mom and dad. Yeah. You both have kids of different ages. Do you think that's true? Has your experience with the teenagers has that been the case? Are they just looking for a place to hang out? Is it more insidious? What do you make of it?
Well, I get it. I remember relishing time on the telephone with my friends and that being... Yeah. And then when my parents came in the room, it's like our secret code was popcorn. And then we changed the
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So someone would just say popcorn.
Adult comes in the room, popcorn. Okay. And so I remember those times, but I also remember running down the street with my cousins, going to the park and those kinds of things. And I just find that my kids are young. So they're under 7 years old. And I look at teenagers and young adults and some adults, and I see how the social networking technology drives the real social experience. So I'm sitting in the car at a restaurant and people are on their phones, and to me, those kinds of situations are disruptive, and it concerns me that I could be cultivating my children into persons that become those persons.
So if Boyd's saying they just want to be hanging out with their friends someplace, and are you saying, Josh, something like, well, no, they are hanging out with their friends and they're still on their social media. So they're not even able to engage in this public space. Like it's only a digital public space.
Under 7 years old, you're controlling their lives anyway. Right. I don't have children old enough to think about it. It's just I'm thinking about that now.
Well, I have kids and they're all different ages. So I've gone through like different eras of this. And I think I chose to read this book first just because the title, because I'm a parent and because I do worry about how that influences the socialization of our children. My older two are girls and my son is kind of all in this. And so basically what I did with it was I tried to like sit with it and then just observe my son and see what he does. So I would say yes. In terms of my son's use of social media, because he plays video games and he has that little microphone thing, and so he's doing it so he could spend time with them because his friends don't live close by. And then they do make plans to actually do the go to the mall thing, right? Which she says they don't do, right? So he has contact. But one thing that I thought was really interesting is on the way to the mall, they're talking in the car. And so that popcorn thing doesn't exist anymore. So they don't have any kind of filters. And so they're talking about things that I thought, like, when we were kids, we probably wouldn't have talked about that in front of somebody's
So you're
mom.
driving,
and
they're talking about stuff
that I didn't think kids, like, would do. Like, that whole popcorn thing, they were totally, like, unaware of it. So I think one of the effects of the social media is kind of like that anything goes. You're posting something or commenting on something and your audience everywhere hears it. So you don't have to filter anything. You have this audience that's there all the time. And so it doesn't matter if Noah's mom's in the car. We're just going to talk about girls and whatever else they wouldn't talk about in front of moms before.
Has he ever caught you looking at something and been like embarrassed or ticked off that you were there, or shifted? Like so maybe not using the word popcorn, but where you could tell that he wasn't comfortable with you seeing his social media use?
Well, I'm not really like that helicopter mom that's you know, give me your phone, let me look at that. So no, and he didn't seem to be totally embarrassed by the fact that they were talking about things that I don't think he would probably talk to me about. So, you know, I don't know if this is an issue. I didn't know if it was an issue of like, he's a boy, I'm a girl, my other kids were girls, maybe this is just a boy thing. But like that fact that you mentioned that, you know, so I think it's kind of true, almost the fact that why are they not filtering this or waiting till they get to the mall to talk about this, because it doesn't seem like... Or
a scary moment, what if they are filtering and you're hearing stuff that you would have filtered?
Yeah,
you know, so that's who knows, but that's the kind of a scary, that's a scary thought there.
The way she did her research, right? So she was not just interviewing kids and looking at their social media, but she was also going to football games and hanging out at the school and doing that ethnographic research, right?
Yeah.
And so she said at football games, you know, she'd be looking around, and it was the kids were engaging socially, right? And it's the parents who were there that were in their phones, you know? So I also did the same thing with that. You know, I started like trying to pay attention to what I was seeing in the surroundings when I was out. And you see grown-ups are in their phones all the time. And so we were talking about that earlier about, you know, how to model appropriate use of technology also for our kids, right?
Yeah.
I'm at the point where I'm beginning to make some adjustments, and I think eventually some major adjustments. But for right now, I try to not be on my phone when I'm around my kids, or my wife at home. I think it's disruptive. So I'll go to the bathroom. I'll go find someone else in the house to do it.
You're always going to the bathroom.
I just feel it's rude.
Yeah. The rude thing is interesting because I think I have the same. I get frustrated with friends or family when there's a lot of that.
Yes.
But like, so I think about the gal we were talking about, this BuzzFeed article with this 15-year-old girl who was she said, I'm on Snapchat all day long. Like I'm never not on it except for when I'm asleep. And I imagine she's got some kind of a sense of what rudeness is and isn't. And I'd be willing to bet money that it would never occur to her that what she's doing is rude. So on the one hand, I want her to learn that it is. But on the other hand, like I wonder what's going on for her, because I take it that she's not trying to put up an affront and not trying to snub people socially, even though that's how we would perceive it. And I would want her, if she were my daughter, to adjust. But I also, I wonder what that signals about the difference in which she experiences something like Snapchat. And maybe it goes back to the football game. I remember that when Boyd was talking about that. She didn't say that the teenagers weren't on their phones, but maybe it's the best way to put it is they were on them but not in it like the parents. That was your
right. Like my daughter, she'll be out with her friends and she'll be showing them oh, look at this filter where I look like a puppy dog or something like that. But I think Josh's point about how we model for our kids, I was telling him that it doesn't necessarily always turn out the way we think it's going to be, because I was really strict with my older daughters. I didn't let them have like smartphones or anything. They didn't get phones till they were in high school. It was just to call me from practice to tell me how to pick them up. And then my daughter went off to college, and then she was that girl, that 13-year-old girl who was in her phone when she came back. And I was like, that's not what I showed her. You know, so it's like part of it is how much control do we have over what they pick up from, you know, from the social environment that's not the house, right? That's not the parents and the modeling. Or is it that, you know, raise your kids in this way and they'll come back to it, you know? I don't know. I haven't experienced that yet.
Well, one day they will have kids. And really. I mean, your point of reference for parenting are your own parents. And even if my sons end up, you know, once they're allowed to have social media tools or phones, at least when they're with me, they'll know. You get together with me, we have dinner. We're going to have dinner, we're going to talk. We're going to look each other in the eyes, we're going to have a real conversation. If you do it anywhere else, that's fine, but I'm hoping that at some point when their lives, when the scope of their responsibility is different, they'll have to go back and reference, how did my parents tell me those same things? And even if it's not so much kids or they become educators or other instances in which they're dealing with younger people, go have those things in mind.
And there's at least then a sense that this is not the only way to be at a meal.
Yeah.
It may be the way I usually am. It may be the way that I like to be, but I've seen examples of good, healthy adults who are otherwise. I remember my parents. Maybe I don't like it. Maybe I don't want to do it with my kids.
Yeah.
But I know it's possible.
Yes.
And so at least I'm restored to a sense of my own agency in that.